hopefully a bit of Kygo there to start the show.
Very nice. So you guys are listening to What the Faux Travel podcast. This is episode 6, all about China.
Yes, so today we have our guest in, Phil. Hi, Phil. We're going to be talking about China as you travelled through China and you're a teacher there and all of that for a whole year. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But Nick, should we just catch up on what we've been up to like this month?
Yeah, sure. So there's been lots of Christmas parties as we are recording this in December. Lots of Christmas parties. A lot of people have birthdays in December, I've noticed.
True, yeah.
So we were out last night for my sister's birthday.
Yeah, and hence why you might not be able to hear because we're just such professionals. But we are severely hungover today.
Oh, inside I'm dying. Like, you can be hungover and be ill, but when you're hungover and your brain just doesn't operate, I can't put a sentence together.
No, it's just really hard to talk.
So enjoy the podcast.
Yeah, good luck with the rest of the hour. So, right, what other things have we done this month? So we've booked our Sten and Hag.
Great example of how shit we're feeling.
My hen do and your stag do, sorry. We've booked them this month, so what are you doing?
I have got a long weekend in the south of France planned. It's going to be in June 2016 when the Football European Championships are going on. So that should be really good fun.
Nice. And I can't actually tell you what I'm doing because my best friend Jade, who is my maid of honour, has planned a week away somewhere. No idea where I'm going. So that's all really exciting. And also a couple of, a day with more friends, like a bigger group, where we're doing something. Again, I have no idea what I'm doing.
So you got 2 and one of them's a week long.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it rolls.
Right, that's fair.
So Phil, we met at the pub to discuss the podcast about a month ago, and you were telling us about your colourful history with stags. You were telling us about, I think, was it called the pot of pain?
Yeah.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
What's that about?
If you do something wrong, you have to take from the pot of pain.
Oh,
We've
God.
had things such as, we use wax strips a lot.
Yeah.
Anything below the neck is fine. So the last stag had both of his testicles waxed. It also ended up with him having a testicle stapled as well.
Yeah, that really you showed me the picture as well.
But he's all right now. Fully functional again, apparently.
Does he have kids?
No, but we'll see whether that actually happens. He got married though, so that's a good...
So yeah, you actually
Good
did staple his bollock.
Yeah, it wasn't me personally. I just provide the stapler.
Oh my god!
Oh, not good.
So you're not going to be on my stag. What a shame you couldn't get a flight out.
Well, there is a UK one though, isn't there?
Well, people keep saying this. A few people have said I'll be there for the UK leg, and I'm thinking,
you having to as well?
Well, I'm not planning on, but
I think it would be rude if you didn't.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that, and also we've kind of booked our honeymoon as well, haven't we?
We have, which is really exciting. So all we ever talk about on the podcast is how much our India trip was really good because we travelled, Nepal and then northern India. For our honeymoon, we're going to start off by doing the southern part of India.
So we've put a £1 deposit down on a trip, so it is booked, but we haven't really paid for it. South India for like 2 weeks, and then we'll finish off with a week in the Maldives.
Nice.
Yeah,
Very nice. And just lastly, we went to Annie Mac as well. So Annie Mac's a DJ. We went to a night out with.
We had a really good night, didn't we?
Yeah, really good.
It was only just me and you, but we made lots of friends.
Yeah, a lot of friends. We just, when you're just off on one, you just meet everyone and just talk to everyone.
I'm sure at one point you invited some girl to our wedding.
Probably. She became my best friend, that girl. I can't remember her name, but she was lovely. So we've got some listener shout-outs again. Do you want to run through them? Yeah,
first one goes to Eleanor Guthrie. She got in touch on Twitter. Have I pronounced her surname right there?
Yeah, it's Guthrie, I think, yeah.
She got in touch on Twitter. She said she was listening to episode 1 and she said she loved my resting my head fact.
Yeah.
So one of the things about me is that I like to rest my head.
Yeah, because we went through like 10 facts about us so that people could get to know us.
Yeah.
And that was one of yours. You just love resting your head.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I mean, episode 1 seems like such a long time ago.
It does.
It
was 6 months ago.
I'm quite worried to listen back to it because I think we'll sound so different. different.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, so thanks for getting in touch and thanks for listening. And Paisley Bryce, she said she was sat on a train listening to episode 5 about Thailand. She said, absolutely getting stared at for cackling. I get cackling at the bridesmaid quote. So we were talking about that, weren't we?
That was funny.
Ben Son Kun Young, or whatever you
Jai
said.
kat madai.
So she really enjoyed that. So thanks for listening. And Adam got in touch. He said he thought our Thailand episode was the best one so far. And he's sticking up for me and he likes my fun facts.
Oh, yes, because we asked if anyone enjoyed them as much as you do.
And the people have spoken and it's here to stay.
Okay, I will not scrap that from the podcast then. That's
Good.
fine. So, Phil, hello. Welcome to What the Faux. Should we explain how we know you? So, it's through Nick's family.
Yeah, so like you were married into our family. So yeah, you married Becky, who was like, not my sister Becky, another Becky. So let me think.
So is it step cousin? Your step cousin?
Yeah, I think so.
That's it, step cousin.
Because our step brother and sister, she was their cousin, wasn't she? So yeah, and she felt like a cousin, didn't she, to me and you? I think.
Yeah, we always spent Christmas together.
Yeah,
didn't we?
massive get-togethers,
Definitely.
board games.
But yeah, really, really tragically, about a year and a half ago in June, she lost her life to cancer, didn't she?
She did, yeah.
But she really was such an incredible girl, and it was a real tragedy for the whole family, but I mean, especially for you, Phil, and her mum, Karen. But yeah, and I think because you guys weren't married that long, were you?
No, we were married just over 2.5 years.
Yeah, and you were both just such nice people. Me and Amy always loved spending time with both you guys, and we always had travel talks, didn't we?
Yeah.
And yeah, we saw you guys as like an older version of us.
Yeah.
And we thought we were quite inspired by some of your travel stories. And we'll go in more depth later, but you've like lived abroad, you've done all sorts, haven't you?
Yeah.
And obviously including China, which we'll talk about today.
Absolutely.
Indeed. So that's how we know you. So tell us like what you do for a living and things like that, like your basic info.
I am head of history department at a school in Tiptree called Thurstable School. I've been there for 2.5 years, and before that I taught at a private school in Milan doing history, and that was for 2 years, and I was there with Becca. And before that I taught for 3 years in central London, so that's my career. Before that, did a fair bit of travelling in terms of I spent a year abroad, which we're going to talk about today, teaching English in China. And then after that enabled me to save up money to go around the rest of China, New Zealand, Australia. And then throughout my teaching career, one of the big things I wanted to do is have all those holidays. So since then I've been really trying to use them to go places. So I've been to Australia, I think it's 3 times now, Alaska, been around Europe, lived in Italy for 2 years with my teaching, been to Kenya in Africa, things like this.
Oh wow, I didn't know about that.
I didn't know
that was
you'd been
when I was
Kenya.
18. So.
Okay, long time ago.
Long time ago. Getting old, yeah.
How did you find Kenya? Because I really want to go, like, see the Maasai tribe and.
Well, it was a strange experience. I went on a kind of street project thing, so I went for 3 weeks, I think it was, to help kind of do up a school. So we slept on the site, like on the floor. We spent 2 weeks painting, doing up a school, as I just said, helping out the kids in classes, things like this. We obviously got tours of the slum. We were actually staying in the biggest slum in East Africa, a place called Dagoretti, which is just outside Nairobi. We were then shown kind of the area, walked through the slum. It's heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking, the conditions. For example, the week before we arrived, 4 guys had killed themselves making alcohol out of battery acid and drinking it. And it's that kind of escape that they look for, because their lives are so kind of like on the edge, I suppose.
Yeah.
We also got to take, I think it was about 30 kids to Mombasa, which is a place on the coast. Took them to stay in a 3-star hotel, taught them how to use a knife and fork, things like this. Absolutely fantastic memories.
Yeah.
Got to see like coral out there on the reefs out there.
That sounds fantastic.
Absolutely amazing. So I didn't really see the Kenya that tourists would go to.
Yeah.
I went round a safari park in a 50-seater bus with 90 small kids.
Did you?
I just remember the driver beeping at a rhino right next to us. I'm like, well, we don't want to do that, mate. But we were safe. So amazing memories, but it's not really the kind of holiday. I've got a mate who just went on honeymoon there, and they did the whole safari moving around. Arrive at a tent that's already been put up with all their stuff. Completely different, but fantastic experience. Real eye opener for me when I was 18.
Yeah, and that's like one of the things I love about travel. Whether you go to a really kind of well developed country or an underdeveloped country, it's something different, and it just makes you realise exactly what you've got back at home.
Totally.
Like the people that complain, people that complain about the UK, like it's actually a pretty good place to live. But people that complain are guys that have never left before, so they haven't seen what's out there. Well, that's what I really like about travelling. I always like coming home because I realise how good it is.
Definitely.
To be honest.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to do something like that, like your trip that you just said. And yeah, I think every country has its different. You can see the tourist side of it, or you can do the volunteering and all of that sort of side.
We love getting stuck into the real country. We are guilty for when we are somewhere. We do all the tourist stuff.
Yeah.
But
that's how you learn about the country, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but I love seeing going to the real places where the like the TV cameras or won't go in the slums and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. So we are going to test your knowledge straight off, okay? We are going to play the capitals game. If anyone hasn't heard this before, it's pretty self-explanatory. It is a game about capital cities. I'm going to give you the country, and then you have to say the capital city.
Okay.
Good?
Easy.
Good to go?
What could go wrong?
Everything.
It did for my sister, didn't it?
It did.
No, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Right, so Brussels. Oh, no,
Belgium.
wrong one. Belgium. New Zealand.
Wellington.
Australia.
Canberra.
Canada.
Ottawa.
Sweden.
Stockholm.
Morocco.
Algiers.
Germany.
Berlin.
Bulgaria.
Sofia.
Oh, Kenya.
Nairobi.
Poland.
Warsaw.
Nepal.
Kathmandu.
Congo.
Don't know.
Oh my god, that was amazing!
Wow.
Except for my little thing at the start where I actually told you the thing.
Oh, yeah, but then you got the country. She said the city, and you got the country.
I feel like that's a point there.
Oh no, he got it right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Give
what I'm
him.
saying.
Yeah.
So that's the point.
My dad's a geography teacher.
Wow. Yeah, that explains it. But that was
That was amazing. That was
very
so impressive. I'm guessing, Nick, you were taking score.
I did. Well, I think I counted 10.
Yeah, okay, so Belgium, Brussels, we got that. New Zealand, Wellington. Australia, Canberra. Canada, Ottawa. Did you say Ottawa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it.
Sweden, Stockholm. Morocco, Rabat. Did you say that?
No, I didn't. I said Algiers.
Germany, Berlin. Bulgaria, Sofia. Kenya, Nairobi. This was so good. Poland, Warsaw. Did we get to Poland?
Yeah.
Nepal, Kathmandu. Congo was Brazzaville.
Okay.
That one's really difficult.
Yeah, the famous one.
So you have joint with Nick.
Oh, yes. Still up there.
Nice.
I was seriously worried then.
So you're joint first.
Joint
yeah,
first.
if you got Brazzaville, yeah. Because James, who we had on episode 2, he got 4.
Yeah.
And then Becky, who was on last episode, got 1.
Well, that was so impressive. You were bang on it then. Well done. That was good.
Nice. So, Nick, we've got game show facts next.
Yep. Okay. Are you ready?
Indeed.
Let me hit you with some factual goodness.
Go for it.
Okay. So. Okay, China. Officially, the People's Republic of China is a communist nation in East Asia. It's the world's most populous country, with a population of over 1.35 billion. Beijing is the capital, but the largest city is Shanghai. The iconic Great Wall of China runs east to west across the country's north and is over 5,000 miles long. That's over 8,000 kilometres. It was built to protect the Chinese states and empires against the raids and invasions of the various nomadic groups to the north. Several walls were being built as early as the 7th century. China currently has the world's second largest economy behind the USA. China is also the world's largest exporter. China has the world's largest army in terms of people. It's almost double the number of second place, which is the USA. Urban air pollution is a severe health issue in the country. It was estimated in 2013 that 16 of the world's 20 most polluted cities are located in China. China is the world's largest carbon dioxide emitter. Mandarin is a main language spoken by 70% of the population. 85% of artificial Christmas trees are made in China, so are 80% of toys. China has more pigs than the next 43 pork-producing countries combined. The Chinese consume 50,000 cigarettes every second. America's fastest high-speed train goes less than half as fast as the train between Shanghai and Beijing. That's 150 miles an hour versus 302 miles an hour. This year, 2015, the one-child policy was phased out, and rich people in China can hire body doubles to serve their prison sentence.
That is the best one, without a doubt.
I saved that one for the best. I must admit, I found some real, shit crazy facts about China. Some of which I did include, some I didn't. But most of them involve being the best or the biggest or, this and that, which, quite impressive.
Let's talk about this prison thing. So you can employ someone as your body double to serve your sentence.
That's what the internet told me.
That is ridiculous. Did you get that from Wikipedia?
No, I didn't actually.
Oh.
I found, I think it was a respectable newspaper here. Well, are any of them respectable?
No.
They wrote this article, 25 amazing facts, or 25 facts that will blow your mind about China.
Ah, did you know that?
No, I know there are some strange things that go on with prisons. I had a guy I was working with teaching English out there. He got approached by one of his students to say, "Can you translate my website into English? And I'll give you some money." Obviously, he started translating it. Then he realised he was translating a website where this business was, if you need an organ, he would kind of be the organ broker. So he would find the organ for you.
Oh my God.
Wow.
But he would get the organs from prisoners. So
whoa. Against their will, I'm
assuming,
guessing?
on death row.
Oh,
so
wow,
I'm assuming a bit of money might have changed hands. My mate immediately went, "I'm not doing this."
Yeah.
But money might have changed hands. We need a liver, please.
Oh.
Wow.
And then someone's put to death, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no,
That's crazy.
That's the idea he got, anyway.
There can be big money in that stuff. There is big money in that stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
Definitely. There was another one. What's the pig one again? Can you read that?
Right, yeah, it's a little bit of a mouthful. So, where is it? China has more pigs than the next 43 pork-producing countries combined. So let's say they got so many pig farms. Let's say, I don't know, the USA are second behind them, but still, add all the pigs in the next 43 countries.
That's crazy.
China still has more pigs.
They love the pork.
Do they?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
There you go. But I suppose there's just so many people to feed. But there was one fact, but it's a bit unfair because their population's so huge. But actually, if you average out the economy or that GDP or whatever, the money in the country, average it out per person, and each person in China has got less money than in Bosnia.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
imagine.
It's not really a fair statistic because there are just so many people.
Yeah. But it depends whether you're on the East Coast in the big cities or in the rural areas as well.
I mean, you'll tell us later, I bet there's real contrasts.
Yeah, and even the population is going to be wrong because of the one-child policy. If you're a rural farmer, you're going to register your first child, but if you have a second child accidentally, you either report it to the government, you get a fine, or you just let them help on the farm, grow up, they're just not reported, and so the population's going to be even bigger than that, I would suggest.
That's very true, actually, yeah. So do you want to go ahead and just tell us briefly where you lived, where you travelled around and all of that
from
around
the beginning.
Yeah.
So I finished uni back in 2004, and my birthday is in June, and my parents didn't know what to get me, and I said I'd always wanted to go travelling. So my mum and dad bought me a TEFL course, so much like Becky was saying.
Yeah.
So I did a TEFL course at the end of uni, and then in came a company to talk to us all called English First, and applied to them with my then girlfriend at the time. And then once you get accepted by them, they send off your CV to all of the schools who need teachers, and a school will get in contact. So the school that got in contact is from a place called Shenyang, previously known as Mukden, back in the day under Japanese occupation, I think. It's in Manchuria. It's the capital of Manchuria, so in between Beijing and North Korea.
So when you're looking at the country, where's this? North, south?
Northeast.
Northeast,
so it's northeast. It is one of their largest cities, but you've never heard of it before, really. I hadn't heard of it.
Just about to say.
Only from you.
I
imagine, when we spoke to you before about your trip.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I said, a huge mega city that most of the world have never heard of.
Yeah, that you just don't hear of. But it is absolutely huge. I don't know the population. I think when I was there, the population was like 7 million. But it's much smaller. Feels much smaller than, say, London or anything like that, because everyone lives in high-rise blocks, really, rather than houses. So it's on a much smaller kind of...
So can I ask your first... Sorry if I'm skipping ahead, but your first impressions of the country?
Absolutely
mental.
Yeah. Basically, I've been on a flight, obviously from London to Beijing, and then you get an internal to Shenyang. When we arrived, my boss was a bit crazy, and he took us firstly for this food called hot pot. Don't know whether you've tried it, but you got a boiling vat in front of you of oil, water. Half of it's hot, half of it's not hot, and you get your meat or you get your fish or whatever, or your vegetables, and you pop it in. it boils, and then you fish around for it, get it out and eat it. Now, when I've been there 6 months and could use chopsticks, well, fantastic, one of my favourite meals. When I can't use chopsticks, I'm totally jet lagged. It's like, God, no, it was late at night as well, and this guy just took us to this restaurant, ordered a load of food, and went, there you go. And I don't think I ate anything because I couldn't get it onto my plate, really. So I was a bit like, wow. And then, taken to a flat. I didn't have the greatest first experience, to be fair. Taken to a flat, put in the flat, left for 2 days.
Oh, no.
And then taken into school. And then about a week later, there was the national holiday in October. I had about a week, 10 days. Didn't know anyone.
Oh.
So I was like, I want to go home. But luckily, my girlfriend at the time slapped me around the face and went, no, we're not going. And then generally just after that, absolutely loved it. Absolutely
Fantastic.
loved it, yeah.
So you were with her, you were never alone?
No, throughout the whole thing, yeah. So
you got there and then a couple of days later you went to school, and then what happened from then on? Like, did you travel the country? Did you just stay there?
No, so I stayed there for a year. I had a year contract, but obviously there are holidays. I got 4 weeks holiday, and then they have a ridiculous amount of national holidays. I think Indonesia has a lot more. Because we were looking at this when we decided where to go. Indonesia has a mega amount.
You really are all about the holidays,
totally about the
aren't you?
holidays. So during that time, I went and visited places. So we did Beijing, a place called Harbin, which is kind of really, really far north, near the Russian border. Went there for, if anyone gets a chance to do this, go, because it's absolutely amazing. In their Chinese New Year festival, they have an ice sculpting festival there. It's like minus 40 degrees.
Whoa.
I've never been so cold. You walk out of a shop and you just go into the next one because you're so cold.
Yeah.
But basically, they bring all the greatest ice sculptors in the world to one place. They give them a block of ice and go make something.
Wow.
So you got all them. But they also then all work together to make things like the Forbidden City in ice and like aeroplanes in ice and helter-skelters in ice. It's just you walking around. It's just absolutely amazing.
I can imagine, yeah.
So-
Wow. I imagine China, like for some reason I do want to go there one day, but there's a lot of other places I want to go first. I don't really know what to think. I've had mixed reviews. I think I'm sure you're going to tell us how amazing it was, but our friends who we met in India,
James and Nikki, they didn't like it. They travelled for a year and a half all around Asia. If we said what's your favourite country and what was the worst one, and they instantly went China. The worst one.
Yeah.
Like, they really, really didn't like it.
I'm sure it depends.
What were their reasons?
They didn't like the big cities, and I think all the people. Did they find the people rude?
Well, I remember them saying that it just feels really like dark and gloomy because everything's like really grey, because they have a lot of smog and stuff there, Is it smog? It's called,
Massive amounts, yeah.
Yeah, but also the people as well, in terms of their culture is completely different to ours. So what they would consider as fine, we consider as rude, obviously. So there's a lot of, well, I've never been to China, but there's a lot of like pushing, right? Like when you get on the trains and stuff. Yeah,
so there's so many people. So I travelled around China afterwards for a month and a bit, and then I went to New Zealand. And as soon as I got off the plane into New Zealand, I was like, where's all the people gone? Like, there's so many people everywhere. Like when you go shopping for Christmas, like into town, you think, oh, there's so many people. China's even worse than that, just on a normal Monday or something. But you've also got to remember that our society is based in Christianity, I suppose.
Yeah.
The culture that we live in. Whereas in China, it's based in Confucianism. And although that kind of got cracked down on under the communists recently, it's still there in the fact that you need to know who the person is before you pay them respect. So, for example, if I was a Chinese person, obviously, because I'm of Caucasian descent, they automatically think, all right, you must have money or whatever, or a high social status. If you're a Chinese person, you go and queue up in the post office, someone might come and like push in front of you because they don't know where you are in the social ladder. If you tap them,
see, to us, that's crazy, isn't it?
If you then introduced yourself and went, hi, I'm
Dr. Yang.
Yeah. I'm a doctor, they go, oh, okay, sorry.
And then he'd go first.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like that every time, obviously, but that is what the culture is about. So for me, once you understand that, you can see why people are in it. Also, I think a lot of it comes from the one-child policy, where you've got these only children.
A lot of
not used to sharing, maybe.
Only child syndrome.
In my school, I taught the richest 1% because they're paying for private lessons for English. So I'm seeing a lot of spoiled kids who would have their KFC for breakfast or whatever, and and think it was normal. And you notice this. I mean, in general society as well, a bit they'll push you out the way and there's sort of jostling. But I think it's just the way it is.
Yeah, I always say that. Like once you understand something, it makes it a lot easier. Me personally, like, I get really funny if people push me and evade my
manners are
personal
a
space. Yeah, it's because it's manners. But then, obviously, if I was in China, I'd try my hardest to let that go and just think they don't think they're being rude, so it's fine.
And it's a massive culture shock, especially for the British, where we like our personal space, especially queuing up in shops. One, there's no queue, and two, people are right in your face, and you're like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, give me at least quarter of a metre or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Because Amy, you struggled a bit with that in India, didn't you? With, again, just the sheer, like, how many people there were, pushing, shoving, staring a lot. But we learned that staring, it's not the same as here. If you're sat on a train and I'm just giving you the eyes the whole journey, just staring at you,
I'll be like,
you think
fuck
this
off.
guy's a psycho. But they do that, don't they? Or I don't know about China, but in India they do.
Yeah.
But it was explained to us that it's not actually a rude thing to do.
No, they just like take it as a compliment because they find you interesting to look at.
Well, in China, where I was, obviously there wasn't that many foreigners and white people, and so there was a lot of staring. I would walk down the street and the street would basically stop.
So the place
I was there 10 years ago, remember, so it's changed a lot now. In Beijing you don't get this, in Shanghai you don't get this, there's lots and lots of foreigners around, and they'd normally shout out "Lao Wai," which means foreigner.
They shout it.
Thank you for pointing that out. But yeah, no, you get used to it. It's always better, sorry American listeners, to be British than American. If you are there and they ask you whether you're American, just say you're British and they love you. So I've had Americans, they say, where are you from? And they'll say, I'm Megwarren, I'm American, and then they'll start swearing at them.
Wow.
Whereas I will say, Ingwarren, I'm English. And despite us having burnt down the Summer Palace once and all this, and Opium Wars having nicked Hong Kong, things like this,
Hong Kong,
they turn around and go, "Oh, English gentleman," and stuff like that.
Isn't that mad? We found a very again in
ridiculous.
India. In India, they loved us, and I think they should have every reason to
to
hate us.
Totally, I really, really don't understand it, but we've got a reputation where people like us. For some reason.
What do you,
it is a bit weird.
What do you think it is? Why do they not like USA? Is it because they're like two major powers competing, or is it due to
you don't like the ones on top? I think. Basically, if you go back in China, certainly, with the Cold War, they're communist, and America is the big beacon of democracy and capitalism. So it's probably a lot to do with that, although we're capitalist as well.
Exactly, it doesn't make sense.
And so I think also, when we were bad, it was a while ago, wasn't it? Whereas America with maybe Vietnam and things like that, with China.
Yeah.
In the region, and they're possibly thinking, why are you sticking your noses in? Kind of thing.
So the main language is Mandarin, right?
Yeah.
Did you pick up much? Like you just said, English. What was
Ingwarren.
Ingwarren.
So Ren is man. So Ingwar is English. So. Yeah. No, not really. It's really difficult because it's like me in Italy as well. When you're teaching in a school, you're not allowed to speak Chinese. You're working with British people or Irish people or American people all the time, Canadians as well. And so when you go down the pub, you go down the pub with them guys. Also with Chinese people, they want to speak in English to you. I've been sat in a park and had someone come up to me and go, "Hello, can I practice my English on you?" I'm like, "Yeah, fine."
Wow.
It's fine until they go, "Hello, what's your name?" I say my name. They go, "Oh, this is my name. How old are you?" "I'm this old." And then after about 5 questions, then they start repeating it again.
Do they?
Like, okay, this is cool, but I don't really want to repeat this 5 times.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so they want to speak English. It's the same in Italy as well. I joined an Italian football team. Mm-hmm. But those guys, it's a lot easier for them to speak English to me because they know it. So message gets across if it's in a game or if it's down the pub afterwards. And also, they want to practice their English.
Yeah. Do you remember you actually, Amy, you when you lived in London in a house share, you lived with an Italian girl. She'd moved to London temporarily only to work and then to practice her English because it's really sad, but she couldn't get a job in Italy because she couldn't speak English.
I tell you, a lot of their university courses are going to English as well now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
But also, just lazy. I'd get home from work and I'd be like, I could watch TV, I could go out for a drink, or I could study Italian or Chinese. And it just, I mean, you do go through phases where you're motivated. I used to get up early to do my Rosetta Stone.
Rosetta Stone.
Nice. But no, it never lasts. I did pick up some Chinese, and when I go back after like 2 or 3 days, I'm fluent in KFC, ordering my burger or whatever. But
KFC.
But yeah, it's only in the things you use all the time. So it's like taxis, going to the market to barter for things and money. It's also just generally ordering food, things like that.
Nice.
I'm fine with.
I actually started to learn Mandarin a couple of years ago through my iPhone, like with games and stuff. Yeah. And there's one sentence that I always remember. I don't know why, and I'm probably going to pronounce this completely wrong. But the sentence is "wo shi out dalia," which means I am Australian, I think, anyway.
Australia.
Yeah, because that's how I remember it, because it sounds like Australian.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've probably said that completely wrong.
Well, the problem with saying things wrong in Chinese is also the same words, depending on the vowel. A vowel has four different characters. It can have 4 different accents on it. So you could be saying one thing, but it could mean something completely different. So, for example, the number 4 is really unlucky because it sounds like death. And it also sounds like watch. So if a Chinese person has a birthday and you're thinking of buying them a watch, don't, because it means you want them to die, apparently.
Wow.
So,
really? See, there's so many weird things that you can easily offend someone.
Yeah. I was in a restaurant once trying to order some cabbage. My favourite cabbage. Don't ask me why it's my favourite, I can't even remember. But it was called Bai Zai. But I could never pronounce it correctly. I'd be there for about 2 minutes with the waitress going, what? Bai Zai. So, yeah, it's just crazy with pronunciation.
Yeah.
And also I found that the Chinese, if someone came up to you in England, a tourist in London, and said, train station, where is? You'd know where it is.
Yeah.
In China, for some reason, it doesn't work like that, so they would not have a clue what you're on about.
Oh, okay.
They just go, sorry, don't know, I'm on my way. Yeah.
When you're saying that, it has different meanings to it, that's another thing that I learned with the word ma. So they pronounce it like ma, ma. Like it's all different things. So one means mother, one means to scold, like to burn something. The other one meant horse, and then there was a fourth one, I can't remember what it was.
My favourite saying in Chinese is mama hoo hoo, which means so-so. But the actual literal translation, I think, is tiger, tiger, horse, horse.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, or horse, horse, tiger, tiger, should I say. Just
Very cool. I love languages. That I think it was on my bucket list, actually, isn't it? I need to learn another language.
But I always say this, but you do speak Spanish, don't you?
Yeah. So I used to be fluent.
Yeah.
But not anymore. I need like a good week to get back into it, and then
But you also have in China the regional dialects as well. So regional TV always has subtitles on, because what they're saying with their dialect might be so different to how it's pronounced somewhere else.
Oh wow!
Right,
so when I did my travelling round, people would go, "You've picked up these words in the north," because I'm pronouncing them in a strange way.
So if a lot of China don't understand each other, what hope do you have?
Well, this is it.
Wow.
No excuse though.
So we know that you were living there for a year and you were teaching. What was like your favourite thing about China?
Food.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the food. I actually think to myself sometimes, I could do the Chinese. Go and order a Chinese in England.
Yeah.
I start eating it. I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
Nah, it's because I think it's also because it's Cantonese here rather than North Chinese food.
Is it?
And that's why it's great whenever I went to Australia in the summer and met up with a Chinese girl who I taught with out there. She's emigrated to Australia, sorry. And I was like, any good Chinese restaurants around here? So she took me out with her family. I was like, yes.
Oh, amazing.
So you can find them in England, but like just go to China wherever you go. And it's also we would just kind of look at it before I went. Certainly, I'd just order a Chinese and think it would be the same throughout China. But it's different dishes from different places.
Yeah.
Different dishes in the same kind of region as well. And each region has their speciality, and it's just absolutely amazing.
Can you just tell me generally? So what is the food?
What you do is you wouldn't really go out and eat on your own. So you'd normally go out. Well, I always went out as a group. And you'd all order what you want. So you've got Manchurian. You just have lots of different dishes. Like you can have sweet and sour pork. A lot of the things we have here, they have there. But you would go to. So we have Szechuan beef. You'd have a whole Szechuan restaurant. So that you'd get the beef, but you'd also have loads of other things. And there is crossover. You'd have noodle restaurants. There's Korean. There's that hot pot that I mentioned. Mm-hmm. And so whenever I go back out there, the first thing I do is make a list of the things I'm eating.
Right.
Which is, So you sit down, you have a big one of those tables that turns. Can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's got a special name, isn't it? What am I thinking?
Rotating table.
No, I don't think I've ever known it had a special name.
No?
Okay.
No,
well, if anyone wants to get in contact and let us know, then that'd be fantastic.
Definitely do that.
But you get one of them. So let's say we used to have massive school meals if a new member of staff had joined, and the Chinese didn't give you an option to order. They just ordered for you, but you'd have your dumplings, you'd have just a fish that you would use your chopsticks to eat off. That's quite difficult. You'd have sweet and sour, your Szechuan, as I said, just loads and loads of different
Lazy
types of food.
Susan.
Lazy Susie, is it?
Susie?
Is that it?
There you go.
No,
I just Googled it. It says
that rings a bell.
Lazy Susan. Why is it called Lazy Susan?
I think it's just lazy because you don't have to reach, do you?
Why Susan?
I don't know. Maybe she invented it.
And
maybe.
Just while we're on food, do they? This might seem a strange question to ask, but I'm interested. Like table manners, like are they clean, tidy eaters, or are they like shove it in?
Depends where you go.
Shovel it in.
I would say they like their food.
Yeah.
And they go for it. my dad grew up a bit in Hong Kong, and he said, so whenever I grew up, if there was food on the table, he was like, oh, you must have enjoyed that. So I think that's a Chinese thing as well. If there's food on it, you're always going to be a bit messy with chopsticks. Yeah. But yeah, they generally go for it.
Yeah, well, I think I know why you're asking that question, because of an experience we've had. So we were on Phi Phi Islands in Thailand, and there was this massive Chinese family. There's probably about...
we think they were Chinese, don't we? We're pretty confident they were a Chinese family.
Yeah, I'd say they were Chinese. I would say there was about 10 of them, and they left the table. I've never, ever seen a table so messy in all my life. Like, the plates were clean. Like, it was all on the cloth and everything. And obviously, again, it's cultural difference. But obviously, we were like, oh, my God, how can they leave the table like that? But so that makes sense in their culture. That's
it's just
a positive thing that they enjoyed their food.
I mean, it also, as I say, it depends where you go. So we had a really nice posh Manchurian restaurant that we would go to occasionally. But we also had when you go out, obviously like you guys last night, have a few beers and then you want some food on the way home. We had a place called 24-Hour Gubar Row. So Gubar Row is like sweet and sour pork. Okay. But it's what the Chinese, if you order it, will laugh at you if you're foreign, because it's what we always order, especially as English. Yeah. So we call it 24-Hour Gubar Row because it was open 24 hours a day. And if you go in there like 2 a.m, you just have lots of drunk Chinese people just going out with the people spitting on the floor. As I say, this was 10 years ago. I can't imagine it's changed that much. Really, really loud. The thing about China and in Chinese restaurant is it's so loud. Everyone's shouting, everyone's talking at each other, trying to make themselves heard. So, yeah, just completely different depending on what restaurant you go. And I suppose it's the same in England, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I would call Phil sorry if our other guests are listening, but our most intelligent guest.
A fountain of knowledge. It might be useless knowledge, but
useless knowledge? How is it useless?
Probably a lot of pub talk, I reckon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think anyone could chuck a subject at you. You could talk about it for ages.
Yeah, make up stuff about it. Yeah,
should we try that out?
You're going to be getting loads of messages on the thing going, I think he was virtually incorrect about China.
We've probably had that a lot so far doing this show.
Yeah, probably.
Especially because we established that I get all my facts from Wikipedia.
Yes, I've been telling you for ages. It's not a valid website. Anyway, so let's talk more about China. Is there anything in particular that's jumping out that you want to say about China?
Well, I think going back to them being perceived as rude, and I've just remembered a story when I was travelling around afterwards as to why tourists, especially those people who wouldn't live there necessarily for a prolonged period, like when they're, like myself, being there teaching, would maybe see rudeness because they see Westerners as tourists. So, for example, I think it was in Xi'an, so I'm visiting the Terracotta Army, went out for lunch and ordered my food, used to doing this throughout, and because it's a tourist place, not necessarily this restaurant, but the town, because they must get so many tourists there to go and see this wonder of the world, basically. I don't think it's an official wonder of the world. Just in case
I think it might be. Isn't it like a UNESCO?
Yeah, it's definitely one of them.
Yeah, UNESCO site.
Just in case of the old what it's labelled as. But they obviously have these tourists come in who don't know what's going on. So we ordered our food, added it up. When the bill came, it's like double what it should be.
Right.
And then they got their shock when I'm going in Chinese. This ain't right. I can't remember what it is, but they say, right, what's going on here? To which the manager comes out and goes, oh yeah, but we've charged you this much for use of your chopsticks, this much for use of your napkin. And I'm like, in the end, I went, you know what? I'm going to leave this much on the table and I'm going to walk out because you're ripping me off. And so, that's the type of thing. If they don't think you're coming back,
of course.
When I used to go to DVD Town in Shenyang, they had a whole... It's called Taiyuan Street. Not Taiyuan, sorry, it's Sanhao Street. So number 3 Street, right? And you go there, it's a massive building, like your Debenhams, full of people selling DVDs.
Right.
And because I went with a mate who'd been there for a few years, he took me to his cellar. So you have to go round the back to a secret like room where I had a secret knock to get in.
Oh my god!
And then there's like a small room, but they got all these DVDs. Now I remember, I think it was back then, there was like Batman Begins was coming out, and I really wanted to see it, so I kept going in, and it had only just come out in the cinemas, so the chance of it being a good copy was slim. But whenever I went to pay for it, she'd go, not a good copy, because she knew I was coming back. And so that's the kind of thing, like you would in England. You wouldn't rip someone off if you knew that they would be good customer, because they also know that I would go and tell my friends, oh, this is a great place to go. Yeah. So that kind of thing. Also, just Chinese people doing anything for you as well is something that I came across. So many Chinese people who are my friends, who I worked with, do you need a lift here? do you need me to buy this thing? If you go to a market and you're white, you're never going to be able to get a cheap price.
Yeah.
Whatever price they quote you, even if you get it to 50% and you think you've got a good deal, a Chinese person will go, I would have got that for 20% of that.
Yeah.
Really?
Because they just won't do it for you.
Yeah.
I think it's something like you could tell your friends that you're getting it cheaper and then they couldn't rip off all the but you just go and get your Chinese mate to go and buy it.
Yeah.
And then you sort it, or Chinese people, I want to take you, you're in my town, I'm going to take you out for dinner.
Yeah.
You're not paying for anything. Like I mentioned about my friend who's in Australia. She's like, no, we're in Australia, I'm paying for this whole meal.
Yeah.
When I come to London, you can pay.
Yeah.
There's so many cultural
I
things
like
there.
that.
Yeah. So that
I think
seems...
that's really.
But you got to build up. I think it's building up the relationship with them.
Yeah.
So if you just saw the general Chinese population, yeah, you might consider them rude. But you get to know that they will do anything for you.
That's really sweet. I like that.
Seems like-
it's loyalty, isn't it?
Yeah, like you said, once you've got the relationship, it seems like they're very big on hospitality.
Yeah, my parents came out to visit and they got like 3 days worth of trips to all the great things around Shenyang. My dad, as I said, is a geography teacher, so they took him to the biggest underwater cave system in Asia or something like that. And this was miles away, but the boss is really rich. So personal driver took them out and all this. They took us out to a really fancy Chinese tea place. And so, yeah, I can't speak highly enough, but it's a real shame that just because tourists can get ripped off,
Yeah.
that it gives it sometimes a bad
You
reputation.
can get ripped off everywhere though. Like every country we've been to, like Thailand was the obvious big one for us because it's our first country in Asia that we visited.
They can spot some newbie travellers.
Oh, they
can't
can.
Exactly,
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I was once on a tube in Shanghai, I think it was, and 2 Chinese blokes just started punching each other.
What?
And a woman jumped in the middle and said, and I kind of got the gist of it, said, "You are embarrassing China.
Wow.
2 foreigners there, stop it now." And they stopped.
Whoa.
Wow, there you go.
Yeah.
People on nights out around these parts, people don't think you're embarrassing the UK.
Yeah.
Do they?
Yeah,
We really don't seem to care about what we look like, do we?
Can I ask quickly? You mentioned your boss being rich. You got paid quite a nice wage, didn't you?
Yeah, so, well, in England, no, but
Yes.
out there. So I got free flights and free return flights, which I kind of cashed in to pay for flights to other places. Every month when I was out there, and this was 10 years ago, so 2004 to 2005, I got paid 6,000 yuan a month, which was equivalent at that time to £600. But I was able to save half of that a month.
Wow.
And I got
wow.
free accommodation, no bills. I'm pretty sure I was paid in cash, so I don't know how much tax I paid. And I was able to live like a king. I'd go out to eat every night, beers. Like, you could pay like £3 or £4 for a beer if you went to a fancy hotel, which was sometimes nice to do. But if you wanted, I found some street beers once, which weren't particularly nice on the stomach the next morning. But it was, what are we talking about? 40p for a 4-pint pitcher.
What was a local beer called?
The local beer there was Snow.
Okay.
But you get Qingdao, like we get here, is one of the main ones. Yeah, every kind of city has their own beer. You mentioned about cigarettes earlier.
Yeah.
Every town has their own cigarette place.
Hey,
and because
quite
it's
cool in a
because it's
weird
a
way.
communist socialist country, I think I read in Lonely Planet, and this would have been 10 years ago when I was going round, that the cigarette companies in China are owned by the government. And China has, I think it was then, like 50% of the world's smokers, but smokes 70% of the world's cigarettes.
Whoa.
So there's more smokers and they smoke even more. It's really weird going back out. So I've been out a couple of times. A couple of my mates got married, also wanted to show Becca China. And you go out and you sit in a pub and people are smoking. You're like, this is weird.
Oh, really weird.
Yeah.
Where were we only recently? Was it in Prague?
It was in
People were
Prague. Yeah,
smoking
people were
indoors?
smoking in a club, and it was like being a non-smoker. It was horrible the next day though because
Yeah.
I just stank. All my clothes just really smelled of smoke.
Yeah.
I'm glad we've got that ban here.
Oh, I'm really glad. And can I ask quickly, just again one more time about the money? So you said like your boss is rich. So was it a private school?
Yeah, so it wasn't rich from the school, actually. So he's bought the franchise of an English First franchise. And he did this because his mother used to be head of education in Shenyang or something. So he's given her a place. China's a lot about face. It's about from Confucian, is about your place in society. So she was just retired. It'd be like, oh, who cares about you anymore, I suppose. Whereas he put her as the head mistress of this school. He owned a steel company. I think he lives most of his time in Australia now. And he was, if you're one of the rich people, you are mega rich and you have these contacts. And he was very rarely around. But when he was around, he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
But very, very rarely around because he was always off everywhere doing things.
So I've got a cultural thing I want to talk about. So, for example, when you asked the question, like, did you earn a lot of money? My heart was like, oh my God, shut up, Nick. Like, don't say that. You don't ask someone.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing in England where you wouldn't ask someone their wage or anything. So I was like, be quiet. So how is that in China? Like, is it open and you say what you earn?
I don't want to go out on a limb and say I know, because I don't know about two conversations between Chinese people. I would have been very, very wary to speak to a Chinese person who I worked with. So I was a teacher, but we had teaching assistants, we had sales girls. I would be very wary asking them what they earn or letting them know what I earn, because there would have been a massive discrepancy.
Right.
And so, yeah, quite frankly, it's rude, I suppose. Like when I went to Kenya, I was not allowed to talk about money at all, the value of money.
Yeah.
And things.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And you are quite right, Amy. Like, it's funny how I would never ask that question about your job here in the UK, but because we're talking about travelling and working abroad, it seemed okay to ask the question.
Yeah.
Well,
do you know what I mean?
I'm a teacher, so you can check online anyway.
It's public knowledge.
But no, I don't know, maybe it's just me, I don't really mind saying it, but I shouldn't imagine many people, if it's like, considering it was my year out. Yeah. I mean, I've had conversations, my friend now is kind of head of the school in terms of, you have the Chinese owner and they're the head, but then you have a director of studies. And he was over in the summer, and I had a conversation with him about how much he earns now comparative to what we were on then and stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether that's because we're friends or because it's just more open.
Yeah. I know you wrote this down, Nick, because we wanted to ask this. So we watched this programme about a year ago, and it said that it was about Chinese people and when they work and their friends, and it was really comparing like the rich life to the poor life. And the rich guys said that they can be friends with someone or another Chinese person for a good year or so and not even know what they do for a job.
I don't know.
It's really weird, isn't it? Because in England, obviously, when you meet someone, it's like, what's your name? Oh, yeah, like, where do you live? And it's a very quick question to say, oh, what do you do? Because especially for me, it helps me to kind of gather what kind of person they are from what they do as a job. But yeah, I just find that bizarre.
So the people I work with, there were Chinese teachers as well. I remember on the last podcast, Becca was saying she was chucked in with people who didn't speak any, or children who didn't speak any English. So I would be chucked in I taught a lot more adults, taught children as well, but adults in kind of evening classes, and I would be chucked in one lesson out of every 4. The rest of the other 3, they would be taught by a Chinese teacher getting their English up, and once it got to a certain level, then it was all me.
Right.
And so working with these Chinese teachers, I would often be invited around for dinner or go out for drinks and stuff. They were usually ladies, so meeting their husbands, I wouldn't be able to tell you what they do.
Yeah.
So maybe that is true.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm just rude. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. And can I just ask? Let's talk about touristy things in China. Did you do all the major ones?
Yeah. So as I said, Harbin. That's a great city to go to, especially in winter, if you've got a coat and gloves and scarf and hat and whatever. But that was an amazing experience, something I will never forget. Kind of like you could walk across a river that was twice the size of the Thames, if not further, that was just ice so deep that it didn't matter. But cars going on it and all that.
Wow.
We're in England, aren't we? And that seems amazing to us, but I bet people in America are like, yeah, and what?
Yeah.
Okay. And so I did that while I was in Shenyang. Went to a place called Dalian, which is a port. So that's kind of like a holiday destination, so Chinese people on the beach. And then after that and Beijing are kind of the places I went to while I was staying in Shenyang. And at the end, we did a tour of China for a month and a bit. So went to Beijing first, did Forbidden City, which is absolutely amazing. Yeah. In Shenyang, actually, there's a Forbidden City because Shenyang was the capital of Manchuria. And so the Great Wall kind of was built to keep the Manchurians out at one point.
Oh, okay.
Because they weren't part of the original China. And their kind of emperor was called the Qing dynasty, and that's the last kind of dynasty before China became a republic.
Yeah.
And so they invaded China and conquered China, and then kind of like did up the Forbidden City in Beijing as we know it now. So there's like a mini replica in Shenyang.
Okay.
Which is quite. I found that interesting.
Yeah.
So in Beijing, Forbidden City, Summer Palace is amazing. You can go out on pedals on the lakes, and just fantastic kind of imperial China, what you would expect to see when you go there. Great Wall, I've done a number of times. People come out to visit. So my parents, for example, we stayed in Beijing for a week and we did the tourist tour. So if you've watched Carl Pilkington, his tour, we did that, okay? And it's ridiculous because you're just in a big tour group and they take you to the bit of the wall that's closest to Beijing. They take you firstly to a jade factory where they go, so like a jewellery kind of place that make jade, because China's famous for jade that's kind of like a greeny. Well, it can be different colours, I think, but predominantly greeny.
Yeah,
and they'll go buy something. So it's basically you're on this bus, so you have to go wherever they tell you to go. So you go to the Jade Factory. Then they take you to lunch, which is like you turn up, they give you whatever, and then you leave in just like one busload after another busload. Then they take you to a Chinese traditional remedies like doctor thing. So I remember they got a guy up and they went, "Oh, you might have a heart condition." And he went, "Well, I doubt it. I run marathons." So I was like, "All right." And then you can go and buy that, and then they finally take you to the Great Wall. And it's just...
Which was built like 20 or 30 years ago.
Built in the 1980s for the visit of President Nixon. No, it must have been the 70s, sorry. Built for the President Nixon's visit. So it's literally you can only walk a little bit along it, and it's all pristine. And also there is bears in a pit.
Oh, yeah, I saw that on Carl Pilkington, yeah.
Absolutely horrible. So I was just like, this is ridiculous. This isn't China. What are they doing? You know, when
Why
you go
are
to
they
America, when you go to around Europe and you go to these museums or places that are amazing in terms of their history, or they're just fantastic places to go, they're always done really classily. In China, I always found it's just like, here it is. And we've also let this guy with his bears come because he thinks he can make some money.
Yeah.
Had a guy. So I'm right next to the Great Wall, and then there's a guy with a tarpaulin with a picture of the Great Wall, and he went, "Photo in front of this." I'm like, "I'm all right." Great Wall's just over there, and they went, "All right." He pulled out Plan B. Went, "I've also got a camel."
That's so
just like,
funny.
I'm all right. But I went again when I took Becca out. Me and my friend, one of my really good friends from China, Robin, is still out there. We stayed in a kind of traditional Chinese hut in the centre of Beijing that are being knocked down. I've just had a mind blank. I can't remember what they're called. They're all being knocked down, but traditional kind of like peasant dwelling in Beijing. Anyway, we went on a 10-kilometre walk along the Great Wall. So we're walking along. A lot of the Great Wall is crumbling.
Yes.
And so we were walking along where it's kind of like all fallen down, baking heat. One of the most amazing things I've done there, because you know when you see it winding through the mountains. So you're walking along that. Then you get to the end and they're like, right, you've got another 4K walk down to where you get your bus back, or we've got a zip wire.
Yeah.
Flying Fox. So I was like, we're in China, this could break, but let's go for it. So that was amazing, like really furthest one I've ever done. So that was cool.
So zip wire, is that when you're strapped on your back and your legs, so you're sort of flying?
Yeah, so you're just flying through.
That's amazing. I really want to do one of those.
It's amazing. And then you got Mao's Mausoleum. So you can walk, shuffle past, but bring your passport because I wasn't going to let you in. Shuffle past Mao's body, although every other day it's a wax figure.
Oh.
Why every other day?
I think they have to keep him refrigerated for a certain amount of time. Otherwise go off. And which I find really funny because he's like the guy who's responsible for the famines that were there, killed the most people ever, and they revere him. I think it's changing now, but wherever you go, it's like he is revered in little red books and things. They'll say he got 70. I think it's 70% of what he said was right, so he did all right.
Right. Okay.
And then Beijing's just fantastic silk market for going and buying things, but don't get ripped off. Just go in. If you get 50% as a foreigner of their original price, you're doing all right.
Okay.
But a Chinese person will want 20.
Right.
So bear that in mind.
That's a good judgment. That's a good tip.
Yeah.
And how do you barter?
You just say price. Well, the best one's gender taguela. That's way too expensive. Gender taguela. Or you just say wo la wai. I'm a foreigner. Gender taguela. You're doing that because I'm a foreigner. And they'll generally drop, but they will walk away because there's other foreigners around. They don't want them to see that you're getting a really good deal because they think they can get one.
Yeah.
But I've had experiences of where there's a fake T-shirt, football shirt, and they're trying to sell it to me for 70 quid. I'm like, I could get that in England for 50.
Wow.
So
and it's fake.
Yeah. But yeah, Beijing's fantastic. Then we went to... I'll just go through our route, shall I?
Yeah.
Then we went to Xi'an, which was Terracotta Warriors. Again, it's like, here are the warriors. It's like an aircraft kind of hangar thing. We're not going to make this amazing. They could have made it amazing. They could have gone into the backstory of the emperor who had them made and all the hidden bits with the flowing
so you don't
lava
learn
and all
any
that.
of that?
Not if you're British. I don't know whether,
that's a
or
shame.
speaking English, but I don't know whether in the Chinese it said it all, or whether it's changed now.
Yeah.
But yeah, they could have made a lot more of it. But you just see every one of them's got a different face, and the horses and all this, and they're all in battle formation. They haven't uncovered all of them yet, so that's really, really interesting.
Yeah, I'd love to go there.
My favourite place was Chengdu with the pandas.
Cool.
So Chengdu is the capital of Sichuan province that I mentioned with the food, and so really, really beautiful food, quite spicy food, absolutely
like
fantastic,
spice.
and yeah, just basically really hot. But you can go out and you can see the pandas and
Very cool.
basically see the wildlife, and it's a city that's not as industrial and as smoggy, I seem to remember, as Beijing, Xi'an or Shenyang. Then from there we had a 42-hour train journey. Trains are great.
Was it like a sleeper train?
It was a sleeper train.
Yeah,
Basically,
we've done those.
you know, you have like the 6 bunks.
Yeah.
It's 3 either side, but then anyone can sit on the bottom one. So in China, if you get the bottom one, families just come and sit on your bed.
Do they?
Yeah.
What, while you're laying there?
Yeah, you could be there, but it's for everyone. You get used to it. You're just like, and they all want to kind of speak to you or go where you're from, kind of thing. I remember I had the top bunk, and I'd also just done a book swap, so I just picked up Dolly Parton's autobiography.
Right.
So I had 42 hours of me and Dolly.
Wow.
What a lady. And then, hit Shanghai. And my cousin was actually living in Shanghai at that time, so stayed with him, showed me the sights.
Nice.
Shanghai is just like, you've got Beijing, which is like, I would say real China.
Okay.
You've got all the history of China. Then you've got Shanghai, which is like what China is wanting to be.
Yeah,
I think Hong Kong, I've been to Hong Kong a couple of times as well. Hong Kong is kind of China, with a British kind of like tone on it, but Hong Kong was the one that was like, this is the most developed thing on the Chinese subcontinent or the Chinese country.
Yeah.
Shanghai's gonna overtake. You can see it when you're talking about the fastest and biggest things. I always laugh at Shanghai because they've got the maglev train where you get the plane in and then you from the airport into centre of Shanghai. So they built it to be faster than the bullet train. And then when they actually did it, it wasn't. And they've also got the tower on the Bund. So they've got a little there's kind of an island just off kind of the waterfront, and they've got that big kind of spaceship looking one.
I've probably seen a picture at some
and that
point.
was, I think it's that building, but it was supposed to be the biggest in the world, and then they misjudged and had to change it. And it was the second at that time. So yeah, but no. So Shanghai, my memories of that is really modern. But you can go down like side alleys and you see traditional Chinese.
That's
kind
cool.
Of, like,
That's cool. Yeah.
Very
mega
cool.
banking and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then from then I went to Hong Kong, I think. Xiamen. I went to Xiamen, which is like there's an island off. So when it was owned by, there was Europeans kind of carving up China in the 19th century. I don't know whether this was Portuguese or it was a European nation, maybe French, and they took over this island that's like about a mile off the coast, maybe not even that. It's really small, but there's no roads, so there's no cars on the island.
Nice.
You go out there, it's all like normal houses that we would say normal houses. So you're like, whoa, this is a bit crazy, a bit different. So that was really interesting. So you've got this horrible city, Xiamen, and then you've got this lovely island. Yeah. And then there's Hong Kong, obviously. I remember getting there and, again, getting ripped off in a cab. And
cabbies are the worst, though, aren't they? Because you always, obviously, you get in a cab first from the airport and it's always such a struggle. Yeah. Thinking, am I getting ripped off? I don't know how much this money is worth and all of that.
I got ripped off and then went through border control, and then there's underground from border control right into central Hong Kong. When I went to Shanghai, they got a new underground, and I remember it pulling up. No one's on there, but everyone just bundled to get onto. Like there was like four of us. Everyone else bundled on to get the seat they were obviously going to get anyway. And I was like, all right, rude. But again, they didn't know me, so
yeah.
Get to Hong Kong, tube arrives, doors open. The guy next to me, Chinese guy, turns, obviously from Hong Kong, and goes, "After you." And I was just like, I'm in England.
Wow.
So then my whole time in Hong Kong was spent trying to find like Monster Munch and things like this. But Hong Kong, absolutely love it. I've been back since as well because it's just absolutely fantastic. Like Asia, but obviously with that British twist.
Would you say, in your opinion, obviously because you're from Britain, did you find Hong Kong was kind of for you the perfect mix of the crazy Chineseness but also the familiarity of home?
At the time, yeah, because I'd spent 13 and a bit months in China, and so it was just like, oh my God. But I don't want to be like, we're the best, because we're not. There's so many things that we do that are stupid compared to that the Chinese do that's fantastic, or the Italians do. But for me, having grown up in British culture,
exactly,
to get there and go, oh, this is great, this is what the Chinese should do, but it's so patronising, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't want to come across as that, but for me to live there, it would be a lot easier to live in Hong Kong, obviously, than in Shenyang.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Cool. We can play the game now. We can do Name That Fucking Language.
The rude game.
Yes. So if you haven't heard episode 1, Name That Fucking Language is a game where I will play a series of clips to Phil and Nick, and they will have to guess what language it is, because it's in a robotic voice, what language it is and what they're saying. The reason it's called Name That Fucking Language is because they're all swear words or bad words, because there aren't actually that many swear words that I could find. So they're like kind of not even bad. I don't even know. Yeah, so the reason we came up with this game is because when you learn a new language, one of the only things you remember are the swear words.
Well, a prime example earlier, you told us the C-bomb.
Shabby. Right? Shabby.
Yeah.
You've got 2 different languages and you'll have 3 clips per language. Okay? So let's go.
not say that.
So that's Will Ferrell there. What was that from? What film?
Step Brothers.
Step Brothers. That's it.
That's just the intro to the game.
All right.
There's
Thought I was going to get a point there.
There's no
Come on,
logic.
get one.
There's no logic behind it.
Right. So this is your clip number 1. I want to know what language this is and what swear word are they saying?
Video.
So, yeah, like I said, it's a robotic voice. That was it. So
Can we
what?
hear that again?
Yeah.
Video.
So that is your clip.
God. Okay, so language and word.
Yes.
I'll say the language is Afrikaans and the word is fuck.
Okay. And Phil?
I'm going to go for Urdu.
What even is Urdu?
It's like Pakistani.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And that's
We should know
plainly
that.
not that one then.
She's like, what?
And as I've lost anyway, I will go for wanker.
Wanker. Okay, so you're both wrong on the language. I can't tell you the language because you got 2 more clips. But the word was shit. Okay, that was the word for that one.
Okay.
Totem.
So that's your second word.
Wow. I'm gonna go German, and there's not actually many swear words, is there? So, might as well go fuck again.
So you're going fuck German. Fuck German. And Phil?
I'm going to go Japanese
Yep.
and twat.
So both wrong on the language again, but the word was wank.
Oh.
So you were close to the first one, Phil. Okay, so this is your third and final clip, okay?
Loaded.
Wow.
So that's your third clip. So I'm going to start with Phil this time. So I need a language and a word.
I'm going to go Polish.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go fuck.
Okay, changing it up a bit. All right, and Nick?
Similar, the kind of Eastern-ish European thing. I'll go Russia, and I think it's saying arsehole. Is that a swear word?
It's a swear word, yeah.
Well,
You got the word right. So the word is arsehole. Well
yes.
done.
Point to me.
That was weird.
Oh.
The language was Vietnamese.
Oh.
Vietnamese.
So that means I won 1-0.
Congratulations.
You did. Well done. Yeah, so out of 6 points, you got 1.
Yes, thank you.
And out of 6, Phil got 0.
Oh.
But you did well on the Capitals game, so
difficult.
you know you've already claimed it.
That's true.
Okay, so second language now. You got 3 clips again, different language this time. This robotic voice is actually so hard to understand. So that's your first clip of 3.
That was a long word as well, wasn't it?
It was.
Okay.
Do you want to hear it again?
Yes, please. Wow.
Hard, isn't it?
Indonesian. and
Okay.
Bastard.
Okay, and Nick?
I'll go for dickhead and Mandarin.
Okay, so you're both wrong on the language.
But
And you're both wrong on the word. So the word was son of a whore.
oh, okay.
And obviously I cannot tell you the language just yet.
Okay.
So this is clip 2.
The jump in if you want, Phil.
Zulu.
Zulu.
And we haven't had fuck yet. I'm going to go fuck again.
Yep.
Play the odds.
I'll go. I'm taking a punt here. I'll go Spanish and what other words have we got? Prick.
Okay, so you're both wrong on the language. But Phil got the word right.
Woohoo.
It was fuck. Yes, the word was fuck.
Okay.
Okay, so this is your third and final clip for this language.
Oh my god.
So that was your last clip there.
I think I'm going to go with the word.
Oh, wait a minute. Actually, this one I'm going to give you a clue. This isn't strictly a swear word. It's just a rude thing. That's your clue.
Rude thing.
Well, not-
Fingering.
Okay.
And the language is Arabic.
And Phil?
Cock
Okay.
and Mandarin.
Okay, so both languages are wrong.
Okay.
And it all comes down to this because you both got 1 point each, right?
Yep.
And yeah, you both got it wrong.
That's a draw. It's a tough game, isn't it?
Yeah, so the word for that was I don't know whether my clue was right. Well, the word was boobs.
Okay.
Um,
Tits, boobs, yeah.
Tits, boobs, whatever you want to call them. and the language was Albanian.
Ah.
So you never would have got that.
No.
It's pretty much an impossible game, isn't it?
I bet when I said for Arabic, you were like, or not.
I forgot what language it was at that point, and I had to look it up. So
okay.
secretly. So we need to finish off the podcast. Just very quickly, what would be your advice if someone wanted to do a similar thing to what you did?
Firstly, go for it. First impressions aren't always the best thing to go on. I'd say hostels are a great way to do it. Trains are really, really good. If you do those hard seats, I wouldn't, because that's just sitting down. If you can get a hard bed, that's great, because these journeys are like 10, 15 hours long.
Yeah.
Even if you do get the locals sitting on your seat, it's quite good to have a chat with them.
Yeah.
It's always funny.
Just be open to stuff.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and I think that's it. Be open to any new food. Be open to any new experiences, any trips you can go on. Talking to people, I think just embrace it.
Have you got any big no's? Like, for example, don't try to eat Western food because they can't cook it, kind of thing.
Western food is fine. Well, you'll get your McDonald's, KFCs, everything. They're mad for it, actually.
Yeah.
And I keep mentioning KFC, don't I?
A lot. Yeah.
On the brain.
I think KFC's bigger than McDonald's out there.
Out there?
Yeah.
Remember our last show?
Chicken.
Do you remember the last show? The fact about KFC? Japanese.
I was thinking about this.
Japanese on Christmas Day.
Burger King, wasn't it?
Go to KFC.
Oh,
I thought it was Burger King.
KFC.
Ah.
wow.
Yeah, that's what they have for their Christmas dinner.
Nice.
Weird.
Yeah.
Very
So any big no's, any things that you did?
I'd say with locals, don't be leery. They're not used to it.
Yeah.
They're very proud of their country, so don't slag it off.
Don't offend
basically.
their country, yeah. And don't buy a watch for someone for their birthday.
This is it. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
And if you're Caucasian, just say you're British.
Yep.
Yes, so we've learnt a lot. And I was going to say to you, halfway through, I thought I'm going to tell you at the end. I'll be completely honest with you. I didn't think we would ever necessarily make the effort to go to China because of what we've heard. And we shouldn't really listen to other people, and we should just experience it for ourselves. But you've completely won me over today. I think I really want to go, actually.
Yeah,
really want to go to
I
China.
really want to go, yeah.
I've got last thing then. I've got a couple of mates who are currently living in Australia, but they did the Trans-Siberian Railway,
nice.
and they weren't planning on staying in China at all. And I convinced them to go for a week, and they stayed for a month or so.
Did they?
So that's how. Yeah, they absolutely loved it. So,
Oh, wow. Now that we're educated about it, like our friends that didn't like it, they just weren't educated on the culture, James and Nikki, who we met in India. And so obviously it was all a bit weird for them if you don't understand the country. Like, I'm sure we're weird when people come here if they don't understand. Like, we're like, don't touch me and stuff. They must find us as very offish people. But
And also, I suppose you need to think of China as like Europe. So if you don't like London, doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to like Prague or
very true.
Yeah.
or something. So yeah.
Nice.
Very, very good.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on
My pleasure.
today.
that
And
was great.
we just got one last thing for the next episode that we need to tell people about.
Yeah.
As next month is February, as this is going out in January, it will be
Yeah.
February, so it's Valentine's. So we're going to do a episode about travelling with a partner.
I think this is going to be so funny.
Yeah. So we're going to be telling all the do's and don'ts of what to do. Like, the amount of times we've had arguments in other countries is unbelievable.
Well, basically, I'm sure the same for everyone. Travelling can bring out the best and the worst in you.
Yes.
And yeah, so just some funny stories and some tips about how to survive with a partner. And yeah, if I could do a shout out now, include you in this, Phil, if people can write in with some funny stories or tips
Yes.
about when they have been travelling with a partner, then that would be good. And we'll give everyone the complete survivor's guide to travelling with your partner.
Definitely. You can get them in on Twitter at Faux Podcast, or also check out our Instagram as well at What the Faux Podcast. Yeah, that's on Instagram, and our email address
is What the Faux Podcast. So all one word, and faux PHO. So What the Faux Podcast at gmail.com.
So yeah, if you've got some story that's a bit longer than a Twitter message, then chuck us an email and we will read it out. So yeah, thank you very much again, Phil, for coming in.
No worries.
And
Thank
yeah, we'll see you next month.
Bye.
Digga digga ding 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 ding.
Don't forget, you can get in contact on @Faux Podcast. That's faux spelled PHO. Or What the Faux Podcast on Instagram. You can also email us whatthefauxpodcast@gmail.com.